She looked at Valora Prime on the screen. The planet glowed peacefully in the light of its star. 3 days after the battle, Ambassador Lyris Thane and Commander Varos Kell took a shuttle from Valora Prime to the human flagship. As their small craft approached the reckoning, both aliens felt their breath catch. The supercarrier was enormous. 3 kilometers of metal and weapons, surrounded by dozens of escort ships. It looked like a floating fortress. They called this one ship? Varos said quietly.
How many people live on it?
5,000, replied the shuttle pilot, a young human named Quan. The Reckoning is our largest carrier. She can hold 300 fighter craft plus support vessels. Lyris and Varos exchanged glances. The Valoran's largest ship held 200 people and had no fighters at all. The gap between their civilizations was vast. The shuttle docked and they were escorted through corridors filled with activity. Human crew members rushed past carrying equipment. Pilots in flight suits headed toward the hangar bay. Marines drilled in training rooms. Everything was efficient and organized. This was not a ship. This was a military base that could fly. They were brought to a conference room where Admiral Tae Rin waited with her senior officers. Vice Admiral Jin Woo stood beside her. Chief Diplomat Sung Mi offered a warm smile. Tactical Commander Hanabe nodded respectfully. All wore crisp military uniforms. Ambassador Thane, Commander Kell, welcome aboard, Tae Rin said. Please sit. Can we offer you refreshments? They sat at a large table. Humans brought drinks and food. The atmosphere was friendly but professional. Lyris felt nervous. These people had just destroyed an entire enemy fleet. What did they want in return? First, Tae Rin began, let me express our condolences for your losses. We know you lost thousands of people in the attacks. We're prepared to help with reconstruction efforts. That's very generous, Lyris said carefully. May I ask a question? Of course, how? Lyris gestured around the ship. The Galactic Council records show Earth has 12 registered spacecraft. You brought 3,000 warships. How is that possible? Tae Rin leaned back in her chair. That's a fair question. The truth is simple. When we joined the Council, we registered our exploration and diplomatic vessels as requested. Nobody asked if we had military ships. We didn't lie. We just didn't volunteer information. Varos frowned. But Council regulations prohibit large military forces. It's been galactic law for 10,000 years. Commander, Sung Mi said gently. With respect, we didn't write those laws. Earth joined the Council 5 years ago. You can't expect us to disarm completely just because other species did. But why build so many ships? Lyris asked. The galaxy is peaceful. Jin Woo laughed, but there was no humor in it. Is it? Ambassador, your colonies were destroyed. Your people were killed. Where was this peaceful galaxy when you needed help? The room went quiet. Lyris had no answer. The Council had sent sympathy but no ships. Only the humans had acted. Hanabe brought up a holographic display showing a map of the galaxy. The Council likes to think space is safe, but it's not. There are pirates in the outer regions. Slave traders operate in the dark zones. Now we know there are species like the Draknir who attack without warning. The Council's system of collective peace only works when everyone agrees to be peaceful. And when they don't, Tae Rin continued, species like yours suffer. We humans have fought wars for thousands of years. We know the cost of being unprepared. So yes, we built a military fleet. We hoped we'd never need it. But we built it anyway because hope is not a strategy. Varos looked at the star map. This fleet of yours, what do you plan to do with it now? Conquer the galaxy? Demand tribute? Tae Rin looked genuinely offended. Conquer? Commander, we didn't come here for conquest. We came because you asked for help. We risked our people's lives for strangers. Does that sound like conquerors to you? No, Varos admitted. I'm sorry. This is overwhelming. Your military power is immense. It's frightening. It should be frightening to anyone who attacks innocent people, Jin Woo said firmly. But we're not your enemies. We want to be your friends. Sung Mi pulled out a document. We'd like to propose a formal alliance between Earth and Valora. Not vassalage, partnership. We'll help you rebuild your colonies and strengthen your defenses. We'll share technology and knowledge. In return, we ask for your friendship and your honesty with the Galactic Council about what happened here. Honesty? Lyris asked. Yes. The Council needs to know that their system failed you. They need to know that humanity has a military fleet, and that we used it to save your people. The truth needs to come out. Lyris was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. I agree. The council should know. Will you come with me to present our report? We will, Tayrin confirmed. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. The massive chamber on the neutral world of Concordia held representatives from 47 species. The chamber was designed to show equality. Every species had the same size seat. Every voice carried the same weight. Ambassador Lyris Thane stood at the central podium. Beside her were Tayrin, Sungmi, and Jin Wu. The humans wore their military uniforms. They wanted everyone to know exactly what they were. Esteemed members of the council, Lyris began, her voice steady. I stand before you with news. The Draknir swarm that threatened my people has been eliminated. 3 of our colonies are destroyed, but our homeworld survives. We owe our lives to humanity. Counselor Nexus Prime, representative of the ancient Kalian Empire, spoke. He was a tall being with silver skin and multiple eyes. Yes, we received the reports. Quite remarkable that 12 human ships defeated 200 Draknir vessels. Counselor, Lyra said, there is a misunderstanding. The humans did not send 12 ships. How many then? 20? 30? Tayrin stepped forward. 3,200 combat vessels from the Terran Defense Fleet. The chamber exploded into chaos. Representatives shouted. Some stood from their seats. The noise was deafening. It took 10 minutes for order to be restored. Counselor Vren Tal, a reptilian being from the Sarkin hegemony, hissed angrily. Impossible. The council records show Earth has only 12 registered spacecraft. You are lying. We are not lying, Sungmi said calmly. Earth registered our exploration and diplomatic vessels as requested when we joined the council. We have 12 of those ships. We also have 3,000 military vessels that we never registered because nobody asked us to. That violates the spirit of council membership, Nexus Prime declared. We built this coalition on trust and mutual disarmament. Jinwu's voice was cold. And how did that work for the Valorans? Your trust and disarmament nearly got them exterminated. 3 colonies were destroyed while you debated responses. We were following proper procedures. Frentel protested. Your procedures don't work, Tayrin said bluntly. You have no way to defend council members from real threats. You talk about peace and cooperation, but when someone actually needs military help, you have nothing to offer. A new voice spoke. It belonged to Counselor Aaron Vale, representative of the Miroshi Union, a small species that had suffered pirate raids for years. The human is right. My people have requested help multiple times. We always receive sympathy and advice, but never ships, never soldiers. The council expects us to defend ourselves, but forbids us from building defenses. Other small species representatives began speaking up, agreeing. The chamber divided. Large, powerful species like the Kalians and Sarkin were angry and frightened of human military power. Small, vulnerable species saw humanity as potential protectors. This is exactly why we have disarmament laws, Nexus Prime shouted. To prevent any one species from dominating the galaxy. We don't want to dominate anyone, Tayrin said firmly. But we will protect our friends. The Draknir attacked the Valorans. We stopped them. If pirates attack the Miroshi, we'll stop them too. If slavers threaten anyone, we'll stop them. That's what our fleet is for. You can't be the galaxy's police force. Frentel protested. Why not? Sungmi asked. You won't do it. The council has no defense force, no peacekeepers with real power. You've relied on everyone being peaceful by choice, but not everyone chooses peace. Captain Dae Yun, attending as a military observer, spoke up. We're not asking for your permission. We're informing you of our capabilities. If you want to expel us from the council for having a military, do it. We'll leave, but we won't disarm, and we won't stop helping people who need help. The debate continued for hours. Some species called for Earth's expulsion. Others proposed sanctions. But slowly a different idea emerged. Counselor Aaron Vale proposed it first. Perhaps, she said, instead of punishing humanity for being prepared, we should learn from them. I propose that the Council commission humanity to establish a galactic defense force, a real military force that can respond to threats. The chamber went quiet. It was a radical idea. The Council had never had a military arm before. Lyris spoke up. I support this proposal. My people nearly died because the Council couldn't help us. If the humans hadn't acted independently, billions would be dead. We need a defense force. More species added their support. Not all, the powerful species resisted. But the small and medium species, the ones who actually needed protection, voted yes. After 2 weeks of debate and negotiation, a compromise was reached. The Draknir fleet moved through space like a swarm of locusts. 200 warships in tight formation, their dark hulls absorbing light. On Valora Prime, every sensor watched them approach. Every screen showed their progress. In 3 days, they would reach the homeworld. In 3 days, the Valoran civilization would end. Ambassador Lyris Thane had not slept in 2 days. She stood in the command center, watching the enemy fleet grow closer. Beside her, Commander Varos Kell was preparing their last defense. 18 damaged ships. It was all they had left. Any word from the humans? Varos asked. Nothing since their message 2 days ago, Lyris replied. They said they were in position, but we still don't see their ships. Maybe they're not coming, Varos said quietly. Maybe they realized it was hopeless and turned back. Lyris wanted to argue, but she couldn't. She had hoped for help, but hope was not a plan. The Draknir were real. The humans were maybe just a dream. Then the alarm started screaming. Massive energy signatures, shouted a sensor officer. Multiple contacts appearing throughout the system. What? Where? Varos ran to the sensor station. Everywhere. Admiral, I'm reading hundreds of ships. No, thousands. They just appeared out of nowhere. On the main screen, dots of light began appearing. 1 dot, 10 dots. 100 dots. 1,000 dots. The display started flashing warnings as the computer tried to count them all. How many? Lyris whispered. The sensor officer's voice was shaking. 3,200 vessels, Ambassador. All reading as military-grade warships, all bearing human identification codes. The command center went silent. Everyone stared at the screen. 3,000 ships. The humans hadn't sent help. They had sent an army. A communication came through. A woman's face appeared on the screen. She wore a military uniform and had calm, confident eyes. Ambassador Thane, this is Fleet Admiral Tay Rin of the Terran Defense Fleet. We received your distress call. The cavalry has arrived. Lyris couldn't speak. Her mind couldn't process what she was seeing. 3,000 ships? 3,000, but the council records say you only have 12 ships, Kay, she finally managed to say. Tay Rin smiled slightly. Those are our exploration vessels. What you're looking at is our military fleet. We thought you might need more than 12 ships. Before Lyris could respond, another alarm sounded. The Draknir fleet is changing course, the sensor officer shouted. They're moving to engage the human fleet. On the bridge of the reckoning, Tay Rin watched the enemy fleet turn toward them. Right on time. All battle groups report status. Alpha ready. Captain Dae Yun reported from the Indomitable. Beta ready, confirmed Jin Woo from the Fury. Gamma ready. Delta ready. Epsilon ready. Tay Rin took a deep breath. Then let's show them what happens when they threaten innocent people. All ships weapons free. Engage the enemy. The Battle of Valora's Gate began. The human fleet moved with precision that seemed impossible for so many ships. Battle Group Alpha, led by Dae Yun's dreadnoughts, swept in from above. Their railguns opened fire, sending tungsten slugs at tremendous speed. Each shot was calculated by computer, aimed at specific enemy ships. The Draknir were confused. Their sensors told them these human ships were massive and heavily armed, but that didn't make sense. The Council species didn't build warships like this. It had to be a trick. Hive Commander Thraxul ordered his fleet to attack. The Draknir ships had defeated the Valorans easily. These humans would be no different. The first Draknir ship to fire at the Indomitable shot a plasma bolt that would have destroyed a Valoran vessel. The bolt hit the Indomitable's shields and dissipated harmlessly. Dae Yun smiled. Return fire. The Indomitable's main railgun fired. The tungsten slug crossed 1,000 kilometers in seconds and punched through 3 Draknir ships in a row. All 3 exploded. 1 shot, 3 kills, Dae Yun's gunner reported. Not bad. Throughout the battle space, the pattern repeated. Draknir weapons that had seemed so powerful against the Valorans barely scratched human shields. Human weapons tore through Draknir armor like paper. Battle Group Beta attacked from below. Jin Woo had specialized in missile warfare. His ships launched thousands of smart missiles that weaved and dodged, each one finding a target. Draknir point defense systems tried to shoot them down, but there were too many. Explosions blossomed across the enemy fleet. Enemy ships breaking formation, reported Jin Woo's tactical officer. Don't let them scatter, Jin Woo ordered. Destroyers, pursue any ships that try to run. Don't let any escape. Battle groups Gamma and Delta hit the Draknir from the sides, crushing them in a vice. The Draknir tried to fight back. They concentrated their fire on single human ships, hoping to overwhelm their shields. Sometimes it worked. A destroyer took heavy damage and had to fall back. A frigate's shields failed, and it took a hit that killed 3 crew members. But for every small human loss, dozens of Draknir ships died. The Draknir had never faced an enemy like this. Species they attacked before either surrendered or died quickly. These humans were neither surrendering nor dying. Instead, they fought with cold, efficient brutality. Thraxul realized his mistake too late. These were not exploration vessels. These were warships built by a species that understood war. He tried to order a retreat, but human destroyers had already surrounded his fleet. There was nowhere to run. Captain Una Park watched the battle from her assault carrier Thunderhawk. Her Marines were ready to board enemy ships, but they weren't needed. The human fleet was winning so decisively that boarding actions seemed unnecessary. Then Tayrin's voice came over the command channel. Una, several enemy ships are disabled but not destroyed. I want them captured intact. We need intelligence on who these people are and why they attacked. Understood, Admiral, Una replied. She grinned at her Marines. All right, boys and girls. We're going hunting. Boarding teams to your assault shuttles. Let's go introduce ourselves to the locals. The Marines launched in small, fast shuttles. They approached crippled Draknir ships and cut through their hulls. Inside, they found the Draknir themselves. The aliens looked like large insects with 4 arms and tough exoskeletons. They tried to fight, but marine armor was too strong and marine training was too good. Within an hour, Una's teams had captured 5 Draknir ships and taken hundreds of prisoners. Meanwhile, Engineer Bincho activated his experimental weapons. From specially equipped ships, electromagnetic pulse bombs launched toward clusters of Draknir vessels. When they detonated, powerful pulses of energy washed over the enemy ships, frying their electronics. Engines shut down. Weapons stopped working. Life support failed. The ships became dead floating hulks. EMP weapons performing beyond expectations. Bincho reported happily. We can disable entire groups without killing anyone. Excellent work, Tayrin responded. Continue targeting. The battle lasted 6 hours. The Draknir fleet of 200 ships was systematically destroyed. 170 were blown apart. 28 were captured, disabled, or intact. Only 2 managed to activate emergency jump drives and escape, fleeing into unknown space. Human losses: 4 destroyers heavily damaged but repairable. 1 frigate with moderate damage, 17 crew members killed, 43 wounded. When the last Draknir ship was secured, silence fell across the battlefield. The human fleet held position, waiting for further orders. Around them floated the wreckage of the enemy fleet. It looked like a field of broken metal and shattered dreams. On Valora Prime, nobody in the command center moved. They had watched the entire battle on sensors. They had seen the humans destroy in hours what had seemed invincible. They had watched 3,000 human ships fight with perfect coordination, overwhelming firepower, and tactical brilliance. By the stars, Varos whispered. They're not explorers. They're warriors. Tayrin's face appeared on their screen again. Ambassador Thane, the threat has been neutralized. Valora Prime is safe. We're sending medical ships to help with your wounded and engineering teams to assist with repairs. If you have time, I'd like to meet with you. We have much to discuss. Lyris found her voice. Yes, of course. Admiral Tayrin, thank you. You saved our entire civilization. That's what allies do, Tayrin said simply. We'll talk soon. The screen went dark. Lyris sat down slowly. Her legs couldn't hold her anymore. Around her, Velaran officers were crying with relief. They had thought they were going to die. Instead, they were saved by a species they barely knew. Varos came to stand beside her. Lyris, what kind of people builds a fleet like that and keeps it secret? Lyris shook her head. I don't know, but I'm very glad they're on our side. In space, the human fleet began recovery operations. Medical ships rushed to help damaged vessels. Engineering crews started repairs. Marines guarded the captured Draknir ships. And on the reckoning, Fleet Admiral Tayrin looked at the casualty reports. 17 dead, 17 people who left Earth to help strangers and would never return home. She memorized their names. She would write to their families personally. She would make sure they were remembered as heroes. Admiral, Hanabe said quietly, The galaxy saw what we just did. By now, every council species knows we have a massive military fleet. There will be consequences. I know, Rin replied. But those people down there are alive because we acted. I'll accept any consequence for that. The quantum jump was like falling through a tunnel made of light. Inside the reckoning, Rin watched the screens as reality bent around them. Quantum travel was dangerous. One mistake and a ship could be lost forever in the space between spaces. Jumping with one ship was risky. Jumping with 3,000 ships at once was almost insane. But humanity had practiced this for years. Every ship's computer was synchronized perfectly. Every captain knew exactly what to do. The fleet moved through quantum space like a single organism. First jump complete, reported the navigation officer. All ships accounted for. 0 losses. Rin let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Good, begin recharge sequence. We jump again in 6 hours. The journey to Velaran space would take 5 days and require 8 jumps. In between jumps, the fleet would drift through normal space while the quantum drives recharged. It gave the crews time to rest, eat, and prepare. Rin walked through the corridors of the reckoning. The supercarrier was like a floating city. 5,000 people lived and worked on this one ship. She passed the crew quarters where off-duty sailors slept. She passed the medical bay where doctors prepared for casualties. She passed the fighter bay where pilots checked their craft. Everyone she passed saluted her. She saluted back. These were her people. She would do everything to keep them safe. But she also knew that some of them might not come home. War always took lives. That was the terrible price of helping others. On the second day of travel, Rin called a meeting of all senior commanders. They met virtually through holographic communication. Jinwoo appeared from his battleship Fury. Hana Bay connected from her command ship Sentinel. The 5 battle group admirals joined from their flagships. Also present were tactical officers, including Commander Quan Lee and Lieutenant Sora Choi. Let's review what we know about the enemy, Rin said. Hana Bay brought up images and data on the shared display. The Valorans call them the Draknir. We don't know much about them. They appeared at the edge of Velaran space 2 weeks ago with no warning. Their ships are organized in swarm patterns. They rely on overwhelming numbers to win battles. What about their technology? Asked Admiral Quan Lee, commander of Battle Group Delta. Comparable to the Valorans, Hana Bay replied. Maybe slightly more advanced. Their weapons are energy-based. Plasma cannons mostly. Their armor is moderate, good enough to stop Velaran weapons but not military grade. Their ships appear to be designed for fighting lightly armed opponents. Lieutenant Sora Choi added more information. Based on their attack patterns, they follow a simple strategy. They surround the target with superior numbers and attack from all sides at once. It works against weak defenses. They've never faced a real military force. That's about to change, Jinwoo said with a grim smile. Rin studied the enemy ship formations. They move in tight groups. Very coordinated. That suggests either excellent communication or some kind of hive mind. Possibly both, Hana Bay agreed. The Valorans tried jamming their communications and it didn't work. Whatever links those ships together, it's not technology we recognize. What's our plan? Asked Captain Dae-yun, who was attending the meeting from the Indomitable. Rin highlighted an area on the star map. We'll exit quantum space here at the edge of the Valoran system. According to our calculations, the Draknir fleet will pass through this point in 3 days as they move toward Valora Prime. We'll be waiting for them. An ambush, Jinwoo said, nodding approval. Exactly. We'll arrange our fleet in a sphere formation. When the Draknir arrive, they'll be surrounded. Battle Group Alpha will attack from above, Beta from below, Gamma and Delta from the sides. Epsilon will stay in reserve and protect the Valoran homeworld in case any enemy ships slip through. Hana Bay was studying the plan carefully. The Draknir have 200 ships. We have 3,000. That's 15 to 1 odds in our favor. They won't stand a chance. Don't get overconfident, Rin warned. We've never fought this enemy before. They might have surprises. Stay alert and follow the plan. Our goal is not just to win. Our goal is to win with minimal casualties. Every person on every ship matters. Understood? The commanders nodded. Yes, Admiral. After the meeting, Rin went to the observation deck. It was a large room with windows showing the stars outside. A few off-duty crew members were there, looking at the view. They saluted when they saw her, but she told them to relax. She stood at the window and looked at the infinite darkness of space. Somewhere out there was Earth, home, her family, her daughter who had just started university, her son who worked as a teacher. She had said goodbye to them before leaving, but she hadn't told them where she was going or why. Military secrets, Admiral? A voice said behind her. She turned. It was Chief Diplomat Sung Mi. The woman looked tired. She probably hadn't slept much either. Can't sleep? Tae-rin asked. Too much to think about, Sung Mi replied. She came to stand beside Tae-rin at the window. I've been drafting speeches for after the battle. We'll need to explain ourselves to the Galactic Council. Let me guess, they won't be happy. That's an understatement. We're about to reveal that we've been hiding a massive military fleet. Some species will be terrified. Others will be angry. A few might even call for our expulsion from the Council. What do you think we should say? Tae-rin asked. Sung-mi was quiet for a moment. The truth. That we built this fleet because we wanted to be ready if someone needed help. That we kept it secret because we knew the Council wouldn't understand. That we're not a threat to them, but we're a very big threat to anyone who attacks innocent people. Tae-rin smiled. I like that. It's honest. Honesty might not be enough, Sung-mi warned. This will change the balance of power in the galaxy. Smaller species will want our protection. Larger species will see us as rivals. Everything will be different. Things need to be different, Tae-rin said firmly. The current system is broken. It lets people like the Valorans suffer while everyone else makes excuses. If our actions force the galaxy to change, maybe that's good. On the 4th day of travel, they made their final jump. The fleet emerged from quantum space at the edge of the Valoran system. Immediately, sensors began scanning the area. Multiple contacts, reported the sensor officer. I'm reading the Draknir fleet. They're exactly where we predicted, moving toward Valora Prime. Distance? Tae-rin asked. 40 million kilometers. They'll reach our position in approximately 3 days. Perfect. All ships assume sphere formation. Maintain communication silence. Let's be invisible until the last moment. The human fleet spread out across millions of kilometers of space. They powered down unnecessary systems to reduce their sensor signature. To any observer, they would look like debris or asteroids. Certainly not 3,000 warships lying in wait. Tae-rin sent one brief message to Valora Prime. Human fleet in position. Stand by. Do not engage the enemy. On Valora Prime, Ambassador Lyris Thane received the message. She read it 3 times, not understanding. Human fleet in position? What fleet? The humans only had 12 ships. She called Commander Varos Kell. Did you see this message from the humans? Yes, Varos said. He sounded confused too. They say they're in position. But our sensors don't show anything. Maybe their ships are too small to detect? Maybe, Lyris said doubtfully. Or maybe they haven't arrived yet. Neither of them guessed the truth. That 3,000 warships were floating silently in their system, invisible and waiting. The Draknir fleet continued forward. They had no idea what was coming. Their hive commander, Thraxul, was confident. The Valorans were weak. Their home world would fall just like the colonies had fallen. Soon this entire system would belong to the Draknir swarm. Aboard the Reckoning, Tae-rin watched the enemy fleet approach. She felt calm. Her people were ready. Her plan was solid. Now it was just a matter of waiting. 2 days until contact, reported the tactical officer. Good, Tae-rin said. All crew, this is the Admiral. Get some rest. Eat a good meal. Spend time with your friends. In 2 days we fight. When those Draknir arrive, they're going to learn a hard lesson. Nobody threatens innocent people while humanity is watching. Nobody. Throughout the fleet, sailors and soldiers prepared themselves. They cleaned their weapons. They wrote letters home. They prayed to their gods or meditated in silence. Each person dealt with the coming battle in their own way, and in the darkness of space, the trap waited to close. Fleet Admiral Tae-rin looked at the holographic display floating above the conference table. The blue light cast shadows on her face as she studied the data. Around her sat the senior officers of Earth's military command. Vice Admiral Jin Woo was reading through reports on his tablet. Tactical Commander Hana Bay was analyzing the enemy ship patterns. Chief Diplomat Sung Mi watched them all with worried eyes. This is bad, Jin Woo said quietly. The Valorans are losing badly. Their ships are no match for this enemy. 3 colonies are already gone. 4 now, Hana Bay corrected, looking at a new update. Colony 4 fell 2 hours ago. Tae-rin zoomed in on the display. It showed the Valoran system and the path of the enemy fleet. Red lines marked where attacks had happened. More red lines showed where the enemy would go next. All the lines pointed to Valora Prime like arrows aimed at a target. How long do they have? Tayrin asked. 2 weeks, Hanabe replied. Maybe less if the enemy speeds up. And their defense capability? 18 damaged ships with light weapons against 200 enemy warships. Hanabe shook her head. They have no chance. The room was quiet. Everyone knew what that meant. Billions of people would die. An entire civilization would be destroyed. The Valorans were peaceful people who made beautiful art and studied the stars. They didn't deserve this. What about the Galactic Council? Sungmi asked. Have other species responded to their distress call? Jin Wu pulled up the communication records. Lots of sympathy. Lots of words, no action. Everyone has an excuse. Too far away. Too weak, too busy. The truth is, they're afraid. The Council's regulations forbid large military forces, Sungmi reminded them. Most species only have small fleets for police work. They can't fight a war. We can, Tayrin said softly. Everyone looked at her. They knew what she meant. They all knew Earth's secret. When humans had joined the Galactic Council 5 years ago, they were excited. First contact with aliens, a community of peaceful species working together. It seemed like a dream. But the humans were also careful. They had spent thousands of years fighting wars against each other. They knew that peace was fragile. They knew that dangerous things existed in the universe. So when the Council asked them to register their fleet, humans registered their exploration and diplomatic ships. 12 beautiful vessels designed for science and peaceful contact. The Council was happy with this. They added Earth to their records and welcomed humanity. What the Council didn't know was that humans had other ships. Many other ships. Hidden in shipyards around Jupiter and Mars and in the asteroid belt, humanity had built a real military fleet. They had built it quietly over 20 years. They hoped they would never need it. But they built it anyway. If we send 12 ships, the Valorans will still lose, Jin Wu said. We'd just be throwing away our people's lives. I know, Tayrin said. That's why we're not sending 12 ships. She pressed a button on the table. The display changed. Now it showed hundreds of ship icons, thousands of ship icons. They were arranged in battle groups around Earth's system. We're sending everything, Tayrin said. The room erupted. Officers started talking at once. Sungmi stood up, her face shocked. Admiral, you can't be serious. That's our entire fleet. If the Council finds out we have this many warships, they'll think we're preparing to invade them. I don't care what they think, Tayrin said firmly. Those people need help, real help. Not sympathy and empty words. We can save them, so we will. But the political consequences, Sungmi started, can be handled later, Tayrin interrupted. Right now, billions of people are about to die. We can stop that. Nothing else matters. Jin Wu was studying the tactical display. It's a big risk, Admiral. We'll be exposing our military capability to the entire galaxy. Yes, Tayrin agreed. But isn't that better than letting an entire species be destroyed while we hide our strength? Hanabe spoke up. I support the Admiral's decision. We built this fleet to protect people. This is exactly the situation we prepared for. Slowly, the other officers nodded. They understood. Humanity had not built thousands of warships to hide them forever. They had built them to use when needed. This was when they were needed. All right, Tayrin said. Let's make it happen. Sound general mobilization. I want every combat-ready vessel prepared to jump within 72 hours. Contact all battle group commanders. Tell them this is not a drill. The orders went out. Across Earth's system, humanity prepared for war. Crews rushed to their ships. Pilots ran pre-flight checks. Marines loaded equipment. Engineers worked around the clock to get every vessel ready. Captain Dae Yun received the orders aboard his dreadnought Indomitable. The massive ship was 3 kilometers long and covered in armor plating. Its railguns could punch holes through solid steel from 1,000 kilometers away. Dae Yun read the mission brief and smiled. Finally, a chance to use his ship for what it was built for, saving lives. Commander Yuna Park gathered her Marines on the assault carrier Thunderhawk. 2,000 soldiers stood at attention as she explained the mission. We're going to help people who can't help themselves, she told them. We're going to show the galaxy what humanity stands for. Get ready. This is what we trained for. Engineer Bin Cho worked frantically in the experimental weapons lab on the supercarrier Avalanche. He had been developing new weapon systems for years. Electromagnetic pulse bombs that could disable ships without destroying them. Now he had 72 hours to get them ready for combat. He didn't sleep. He just worked. All across the fleet, similar scenes played out. Thousands of ships, hundreds of thousands of personnel, all preparing to jump across the galaxy to help strangers they had never met. On the second day of preparation, Sung Mi came to Tai Rin's office. The Admiral was reviewing tactical plans and hadn't slept in 30 hours. "I sent a message to the Valorans," Sung Mi said. "I told them significant forces are coming and to hold their defensive positions." "Good," Tai Rin said. "Did you tell them how many ships?" "No, I thought it better to surprise them." Tai Rin smiled. "They're expecting 12 ships at most. When 3,000 arrive, it's going to be quite a shock." "Admiral," Sung Mi said carefully, "what you're doing, it's going to change everything. The galaxy won't be the same after this." "I know," Tai Rin replied, "but the galaxy needs to change. The council system doesn't work. It leaves good people defenseless against evil ones. If we have to be the ones to fix that, so be it." On the third day, the fleet was ready. 3,200 vessels arranged in perfect formation, dreadnoughts and carriers and destroyers and frigates and support ships. It was the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. It was larger than any fleet in the known galaxy. Tai Rin stood on the bridge of her flagship, the supercarrier Reckoning. Through the windows, she could see hundreds of other ships stretching into the distance. Each one was filled with people ready to risk their lives for strangers. She opened a channel to the entire fleet. Her face appeared on screens throughout 3,000 ships. "This is Fleet Admiral Tai Rin. Today we make history. We go to help a species that is about to be destroyed. We don't know them well. They can't pay us. They can offer us nothing. We go anyway because it's the right thing to do. We go because when someone asks for help, humanity answers. All ships, prepare for jump. Let's go save some lives." The fleet jumped into quantum space. Behind them, Earth grew smaller and disappeared. Ahead of them was the unknown. War, battle, maybe death, but also hope, because for the first time in their history, the Valorans were about to learn what it meant when humanity sent help. The warning alarm screamed through the halls of the Valoran Defense Council. Ambassador Lyris Thane ran toward the command center, her long robes flowing behind her. She had never heard these alarms before. In 300 years of Valoran space travel, they had never needed them. The doors opened and she saw chaos. Officers were shouting at each other. Screens showed red warnings everywhere. Military Commander Varos Kell stood in the center, his face pale and scared. "What is happening?" Lyris demanded. Varos turned to her. His hands were shaking. "Colony 7, it's gone silent. All communications are dead. The last message we got was a distress call. They said something was attacking them." Lyris felt cold fear in her chest. "Attacking? Who would attack us? We have no enemies." "I don't know," Varos said. "But look at this." He pressed a button and a large screen showed space. At first, Lyris saw nothing. Then she saw them. Ships. Hundreds of dark ships moving together like a swarm of insects. They were heading toward Colony 6. "What are those?" she whispered. "We don't know. They appeared 3 days ago at the edge of our space. They destroyed Colony 7 in less than 6 hours. Now they're moving to the next target." Lyris watched the screen in horror. The Valorans were a peaceful people. They had spent centuries building beautiful cities, creating art, and studying the stars. They had ships, but those ships were for science and exploration. They had weapons, but only small ones for police work and keeping peace. "How many ships do we have?" Lyris asked. 30, Varos said quietly. 30 ships with light weapons. They have over 200 warships." The room went quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. They were going to lose. "Send our fleet to Colony 6, Lyris ordered. Buy the people there time to evacuate." Varos nodded and gave the orders. Lyris watched as their 30 ships moved to face the enemy. She felt sick. Those were good people on those ships. Scientists, explorers, teachers who had joined the defense force because someone had to. They were not soldiers. The battle lasted 4 hours. The Valoran ships tried their best. They fired their small weapons and tried to slow down the enemy. But it was like throwing stones at a mountain. The enemy ships had thick armor and powerful weapons. One by one, the Valoran ships were destroyed or forced to retreat. 12 ships were lost. 18 limped back home, damaged and broken. Colony 6 fell the next day. Lyris stood in the empty council chamber that night. Through the tall windows, she could see Valora Prime below, The cities glowed with soft light. Billions of people lived down there. They were going about their lives, not knowing that death was coming for them. "We need help," she said to the empty room. The next morning, she called an emergency meeting with the Galactic Council. The Council was a group of 47 different alien species who had agreed to work together for peace. The Valorans had been members for 500 years. Lyris appeared on the communication screen. Around her were representatives from dozens of worlds. "Esteemed members of the Council," she began, "the Valoran people need help. We are under attack by an unknown enemy. They have already destroyed 2 of our colonies. Thousands are dead. Our defense fleet is broken. We asked for military assistance. There was silence. Then the questions came. Who is attacking you? Do you have any intelligence on their capabilities? Have you tried diplomatic contact?" Lyris answered as best she could. No, they didn't know who the enemy was. Yes, they had tried to communicate. The enemy did not respond. They just attacked and destroyed everything. The responses from other council members came slowly. The Kalian Empire said they were too far away to help in time. The Nexari Federation said they had their own problems with pirates. The Trill Collective expressed sympathy, but said they had no military ships to send. One by one, the council members gave excuses. They were sorry. They wished they could help. But they could not. Lyris felt despair growing in her heart. This was supposed to be a community. They were supposed to help each other. But when real danger came, everyone was too afraid or too selfish to act. 3 days later, Colony 5 went dark. The enemy was getting closer to Valora Prime. They had maybe 2 weeks before the enemy reached their home world. Varos came to her office late at night. "We need to evacuate," he said. "We can't win this fight. We should save as many people as we can and abandon the planet." "Abandon our home?" Lyris said. "Where would we go? Who would take 5 billion refugees?" Varos had no answer. That night, Lyris sat at her desk and sent out one more wave of distress calls. She sent them to every species she could think of, even the ones who were not part of the Council. She sent one to Earth, the newest member of the Galactic Council. Humans had only joined 5 years ago. They were still new to space travel. She didn't expect much, but she was desperate. The next morning, she got a response. It was short and simple. Received. Assessing situation. Stand by. The message was from someone called Fleet Admiral Tay Rin of the Terran Defense Fleet. Lyris felt a tiny bit of hope. At least someone had responded. She looked up Earth's information in the Council database. The planet was listed as having 12 registered spacecraft. 12 ships. It was better than nothing, but it would not be enough. That afternoon, Colony 4 reported enemy ships entering their space. The attack began 2 hours later. This time, the Valorans didn't even send ships to fight. There was no point. They just evacuated as many people as they could. Lyris stood in the command center and watched another colony die. She thought about the human response. 12 ships. Even if they sent all 12, it wouldn't matter. The enemy had destroyed 30 Valoran ships easily. What could 12 human ships do? But at least someone had answered. At least someone had said they would look at the situation. It was more than anyone else had done. Stand by, the message had said. So Lyris waited. She didn't know what she was waiting for. She didn't know if help would come at all. But she waited anyway because she had no other choice. Outside the window, Valora Prime continued to shine in the darkness of space. Somewhere out there, the enemy fleet was coming closer. And somewhere out there, maybe, possibly help was coming too, even if it was just 12 ships.